Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Branthwaite situation, where things are at, strikers, wingers, some concerning maybe hints coming out about United's business this summer and where we may stand, and much more. So let's get into it.
Someone cooked here.
Okay, as usual. So Branthwaite, as it stands presently, as I indicated, I wish it was a little bit more concrete on this front, but United had maintained some dialogue with Everton, as far as I understand it, have been in talks, maintained some dialogue, and are essentially deciding or kind of gathering whether they feel that Everton will play ball at all with regards to the fee. They're not going to make an offer upwards of 70 million, 65, 70 million when it comes to this. They're not going to meet that kind of price. They're considering putting in another bid of closer to a total of maybe 50 million. I think it would still be lower than 50 on the base fee with some add-ons in there. That's the offer that they're considering, but they want to see that, whether there's actually a point to putting that in, and they're kind of weighing that up and maintaining some talks and seeing how that goes. What they don't also want to do is put that in and then have Everton continue to try to get them, push them 5 to 10 million higher, and then get in that situation where you feel like, do you really walk away over 5 million? That's not where they want to be. They want to be, if they make that deal, it gets accepted. But I don't expect this will take much longer. They're at the situation now where obviously the whole strategy has been based around some PSR concerns from Everton, which are not huge and extreme, but they likely do have to sell somebody, and they don't see anything else concrete happening in terms of sales at the moment. This deal has to move. Something has to happen this week, and I expect that we'll get something in the next day or two on this about getting this bid in or deciding to move on. But yeah, because realize that from a PSR perspective, if it does have anything to do with June 30th, that means the deal has to be signed, sealed, delivered before June 30th. It's not like a deal sheet on deadline day. Everything has to be finished. So they're going to need to get that done this week if they're going to complete any kind of transfer prior to June 30th. So I think the decision will be made really shortly here on whether to put that second bid in or not. And I'm still leaning towards that they will, and that this deal will get done this week. But I mean, this is it. They're going to put that in or they're going to move on. That's how things should be moving. They have to be quick on this. They have to start getting something done. I'll get to some concerns later on in the video, but they do need to start, I'm optimistic about all the things that they've been doing, all the moves that they've been making. I don't mean to be impatient, but the reality is this is a huge summer. The whole manager debacle, and it was a debacle, didn't help. It may have filled the time, but since the end of the season, there's nothing that's actually happened. We don't have a new contract for Ten Hag yet, and we haven't signed anybody, and that's fine. A lot of clubs haven't. But it's time to get moving. You need to start getting some positives happening. So that does need to happen this week. And I think that'll be a good test this week. I think it's going to be a really big test of this new group. And I said before that I think this low bid for Branthwaite, you could see it two ways. You could see it as a good start to negotiations, a good message that we're not spending a lot, or you could see it as we don't have money, we've misjudged things, and we're not willing really to spend much this summer. I don't know which is true at this point in time, but I think we're about to find out. They need to get moving. We missed on Tosin, and they did want him. I understand there was good reasons for that, but still, they did miss on him. The manager thing didn't go cleanly. They need to get some wins to start sending a message to people within the club and within the team that they actually intend to fix things this summer. It can't just be all talk. So, time to make a move. But they are considering that second bid. It will be or should be very soon if they're putting that in or making the decision to move on to another target, in which case they should also be able to move pretty rapidly on someone like Todibo, where they essentially know the terms of the deal already, which should be around 40 million, and a deal that they can do. And they've already made an offer for around that price, so I would imagine it would be almost a similar offer, maybe a little lower than their opening bid for Branthwaite to go in for Todibo. We know they have the money for it. We know they could do it. So that's a deal that could happen very fast should they move on. I want to see that now. Because I hear lots of good things, but I want to see it. In terms of striker, there was obviously the Athletic last in their deal sheet thing this morning confirming, the interest in Xerxes that we've been talking about as a top target at striker, the more solid name. I think they are really interested. It continues to stall with Milan now, with him going to Milan over supposedly this agent fee things. Now, I mentioned before I was a little suspicious of the idea that maybe it's being held up just because a little bit that they might be looking at other deals. Now, is that agent fee thing kind of a problem? Maybe. At the same time, 35 million plus 13, 48 million for a striker of his caliber is still cheaper than you're going to be paying for probably Ivan Toney. It's still cheaper than you paid for Rasmus Højlund. Perhaps you can work out a different kind of deal structured into it, different type of agreement. There are ways to get around paying a big agent fee up front if you're a little bit flexible. But let's see if they actually make that approach. I don't think that they're going to do anything concrete. I mean, they could agree deals and all of that, but obviously I don't think that would be. I think maybe it's now going to be after the Euros before it gets totally settled for Xerxes. But definitely one to keep in mind. He continues to be first on the list. I think there is some definite interest in Toney. I don't think Jonathan David is much of an option anymore. And with Ivan Toney, it's also going to be about price and money. But then they also it's not so much like these hard budgets, but this is why they also need to settle this Branthwaite thing and either finish it or move on, because the striker, what they can spend there is certainly going to be to some degree measured by what happens with the money on Branthwaite. If they end up spending more there, less there, if they move on to Todibo, that's going to determine the next kind of a deal, and you kind of do have to go one by one in that respect. Even though you can be working on all these deals up, they need to know what they actually are ending up spending in order to move on to the next one. So yeah, that's where things are at on striker. On wingers, this is where I start to get a little bit concerned with a little bit of some of the pieces of news that are coming out, and not for the reasons that people will necessarily think. There's obviously some information that had come out today, like that, let me see here. That, Ahmad is considered an integral part of the team and all of that. And I love Ahmad, and I hope that he is. But really? He barely played. After the goal against Liverpool, he was not selected for many games after that. He doesn't get a lot of minutes. When did he become an integral part of the team? I worry when those things start being said that, as much as I would love that to be just that simple, that we're starting to get the can't spend much money here. We can't afford Elise. We can't get in for those deals. So, Ahmad is the guy. That's what I start to worry about, because it doesn't really add up. I know they like Ahmad. I know that in the club they like Ahmad, but he was not used by Ten Hag. He was completely underutilized by Ten Hag. He's one player I would certainly say did not get his fair chances, did not get enough chances. So yeah, I don't know. I have my doubts about that a little bit, about what goes behind that kind of info if it's the case. He's gonna want to play. Will he play? Is that cost savings? Part of the issue is, of course, again, Ten Hag has not agreed to this new contract yet. Is there a world where Ineos are unwilling to sanction certain moves because they don't know with that it's going to, like, let's say they don't have total agreement on how the team is going to play and it's not in full alignment with the manager. This is how we play. This is our transfer policy. This is what we're going to do. They may be reticent in that case to spend some money on players maybe in positions that are not as desperate of need, but that would essentially be big money, because perhaps, they don't know how they're going to be utilized or if it's going to be used the way, you know what I mean? It's just, I have some concerns about that. Like, can you buy an Olise if you're not sure how the manager's going to use him or if he's going to use him? I don't know. So I get a little bit nervous about those kind of aspects. Is that a way of briefing, that you can't afford or that we're not going to go for, spending on Olise? There is movement on Greenwood to Spain, it sounds like. I spoke about the interest from Juventus, but they haven't made any sort of offer yet. It sounds like it's more concrete from Valencia, based on the reports that are out there. They need to get that done. Sancho to Juve is something that could happen. They need to get that done. And that might go, that might make it a lot quicker. That might make it a lot easier to get things kind of moving. That might make it a lot easier to spend in this area. But we're not really seeing much by way of indications there of anything that, that we're doing or that we're looking at. So, yeah, I have a little bit of concerns with that. Step sort of 0 for the whole summer was supposed to be have a fully aligned club where the transfer policy is aligned with the manager, where it's club led, where the style of play that, as I've been talking about, the game model and all of that is fully in line. And that hasn't happened yet. They've stuck with the manager, but they haven't agreed on a contract. And I don't know that they will. We don't know that they will. We think they will, but we don't know that they will. And how many concessions are going to be made in that? Ineos don't have to go and spend a bunch of money. And if they're concerned about any aspects of how they're going to play, they're not going to want to waste money, because buying players, expensive players that don't get used or don't work with the manager is a huge and expensive mistake. And that's what throws a wrench in all of this, that it's June 18th and we still don't know that we have alignment between the club and the manager on a lot of important things. And that is a bit worrisome. In terms of outs, we talked about Greenwood to Spain, Sancho to Juve. These things are moving. Looks like Pellistri has some interest going somewhere. Those are little deals that will help to add things up. There's talk of Lindelof to Turkey. I think that there's probably some truth in that, but I don't think a sale of Lindelof funds a second center back purchase. I think you need to sell Maguire if you're looking at funding a second center back, especially at the prices listed. 6 to 8 million for Lindelof isn't going to do anything. They also extended his contract, so it's likely that with that option, so it's likely that a sale, some of the money will go to him. It's not going to make a big difference on a financial aspect. So we need Juventus, and to get Sancho, we need that Greenwood to Spain deal. We need those ones to happen. There's other things that kind of blend into the concerns, which is that, there are, I've said before, like, keep an eye on the Rashford situation, but I would also say keep an eye on there's a number of players to keep an eye on their situation, including Bruno, who are wanting clarification over their role and position in the team, but they also want to see, what are we actually building? What are we actually doing? And again, just sounding like a broken record on this, but the problem with not having total agreement on the alignment of things between the club, manager, and players is that right now, the questions that we won the FA Cup, and I think that people feel that that feeling before that we finished 8th, crashed out of the Champions League, right? A lot of the concerns from players, the feelings that they had, the worries they have about the future, those didn't disappear just because we won the FA Cup. They're still there. And some of them are busy at the Euros and some of them are not. There's major concerns that a lot of them have. The same concerns that led to Varane leaving, the same concerns that are leaving Casemiro doing what? I'm not sure, but probably leaving. The same concerns that a lot of them have, they're not gone. And they, the same reasons that Bruno's agent was talking to looking for assurances from Ineos. Well, and was saying, if they want me and if they want to match the ambitions and if they want to do this and that, and the same reason his agent's talking to Barcelona and Bayern and to Saudi, they're all still there. And they haven't actually done anything to fix those concerns yet. They need to. And I'm worried about it. I am worried about it at this point in time. Today I feel a little bit worried because while they're doing things, there's not a lot of, they're not aligned yet on everything. They haven't sorted out the major issues that need sorting. Here's what I'm getting at, okay? This is the point overall. If there were concerns before over how the team is playing and what players' roles were in it, Bruno had concerns about how he was being utilized alongside McTominay, which later in the season changed when he started performing better. But he has concerns about how that's going to work. Is he actually going to be in the most advanced position, or is he going to end up being stuck deeper with McTominay making runs behind him again next season and struggling with that? He had issues with that, and wants to know how this team is going to fit and what his place in it is really. Same with, as I said, with Rashford many times, and the same with some others too, including Mason Mount, including Maguire, including a number of players. Those are all valid concerns that need sorting, and at the moment, we're sticking with the manager. It's realized that all that's happened is it's the same as it was at the end of last season when we finished 8th. Those concerns haven't been addressed. Nobody has been purchased yet in the market. Those are all things that have to be sorted out with players returning in the next 2 to 3, the next 3 to 4 weeks, depending on their international schedules. So these are all things that have to be addressed and resolved, and every day that goes by with them not being addressed, and part of that being that they don't have an agreement with the manager on a new contract and a club-led model and this and that, it's going to keep sticking in players' minds about having questions about where we are going moving forward. It does matter. Time is of the essence because these players, even if they're busy at the Euros, their agents are looking at options. Their agents are looking at their futures. Their agents are. And some people might be saying, hey, it's fine. We could let all these people go and it's no big deal. You can't. That's what Chelsea did. They lost all of their good senior players, ended up with a whole bunch of young players, and it becomes kind of a disaster that's unplanned. Even if that was the case, and you could say, well, there's some benefit to losing all of them and going that route, you still need a club-led game model and a club-led style of play, and this is what we're doing. This is the plan. You still need that full alignment in order for that to work. So there's a lot that needs to be resolved, and I get a little bit worried about it because, how do I put this? Bringing in Branthwaite, who's a really good player, he's not better than Rafael Varane right now. He may not be better than Harry Maguire right now. Isn't going to elevate the team just by making that signing. Bringing in Xerxes maybe changes things a little bit, depending on how much he starts, but really you're just swapping away, between Højlund. Those two things on their own are not going to suddenly fix everything, right? It's all the bigger issues that need resolving, and then more players than that brought in. So yes, I get concerned when you start seeing briefs of like, well, Ahmad is an integral part of the team. Okay, so are we not buying a winger? Are we not buying a winger? Is it going to be this? Because if we're going in with the same front as last year, then why is it going to change? If we're going in with the same back line as last year, plus we're replacing Varane with Branthwaite, it's not going to change that much, except hopefully we'll be healthier, which will be an improvement. But it's not going to fix a lot of the concerns and the things that have happened. So, those are concerns that I have. And then, kind of adding up to that, you get some things today being said that, Sofyan Amrabat they could still keep him. That's a joke to me. It is. It's an actual joke to me. Because, again, it's a situation where they had previously decided he wasn't good enough and they didn't want to do it. Now, I don't know that this report is true, to be fair, okay? But they had dialogue with Fiorentina to find out if they're going to trigger that clause. And I'm not even sure the clause is still active, by the way. There was some complications around in the beginning. I feel like it had to be activated by mid-season or something. But I don't believe it would be active after July 1st in like 13, 14 days. But they had previously in dialogue with Fiorentina let them know they didn't intend to exercise that option. That I am sure of. If they were to do it now, it would be a cost savings thing. And I am concerned about the midfield because I haven't seen any, beyond João Neves, which looks impossible, I haven't seen anything to indicate they have any really solid moves lined up there. Shifting Casemiro looks kind of difficult. We're not sure if Saudi are actually going to be able to get him or not. I'm not panicking or anything like that in that respect, but those are the types of things that start to come out that start to look like, what is this? Is this like no value in the market? We can't get a midfielder, so we're going to keep Amrabat? We can't get wingers, so Ahmad is now an important part of the team? Like, this isn't going to fix things. They need to move in these areas, and they have these other targets. But, yeah, I don't know if the report is accurate or not. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's just purely speculative. But I do know that in the past, United had indicated that they would not be taking that option. And I'd be very concerned if they changed their mind and decided to, because to me, it would just indicate, again, a poor, kind of planning on parts when they've already looked at it and said, yeah, this player's not necessarily good enough for what we need. I don't want to see that. So, a lot of this could change. A lot of this can improve. A lot of the things that are concerns now may not be concerns in a short amount of time. But the way I've looked at it is, step 0 was aligning the club and the manager. That has not happened. And without that, you're going to have concerns with players. You're going to have concerns with the transfer focus and which direction we're going. We're going to have concerns that the problems that were there last year are going to show up again. You can't, if we're close to preseason and it's the same midfield and we've added a center back and added a striker, that doesn't really change the concerns over how we're going to play. Unless there's a new style of play that's directed by the club and all of that. So I'm not feeling the best about everything today simply because I think a lot of the groundwork that needs to be done to fix things has not been done yet. They're still working, like I said, on Branthwaite. It's concrete. I think we'll get good players in, and I think it'll help in terms of building the squad overall. But there's moving parts with so many other things that really have to be resolved. I think the biggest thing is, the Ten Hag contract aspect of it, actually finalizing deals, and things we may not hear much about, which is talking to players. There are serious chances for players like I said, for Rashford to leave, for potentially Bruno to leave. There are chances for it. And I understand some people might think that's a positive, but I think it underrates the knock-on effect that has when you have really well-respected players wanting out of a club. And I hope that that's not the case. And I hope those are situations that can be resolved, because the concerns that a lot of these players have are totally fair. And they're the things that anybody will want to clarify at any club. And they need clarifying and they need resolving. So, yeah. I expect we'll have something on Branthwaite very soon. I expect that beyond that area, we'll probably have to wait till July to see more concrete moves being made for other signings. But we need to definitely see movement on those outs, and I'm keeping a strong eye on some of those indications about Ahmad and Amrabat, just for the reasons that I've outlined here. We also really want to see something resolve on that Ten Hag contract, because ideally he's staying. So ideally it gets agreed within the terms that should be done. Okay, that's what I have for today. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on, and I will see you in the next one.